What's up, guys? We're here in the shop this morning. I just wanted to do a real quick walkthrough of the shop and kind of show you how I've got things laid out, kind of show you the showroom just a little bit. We got it finished finally, so now it doesn't look like it's under construction. So let's do a real quick tour. I'm just going to kind of show you what we've got. And so if you come by for a visit, you'll kind of have an idea of what's going on. If you can't come by for a visit, at least you'll be able to see kind of what our showroom looks like and how the new shop is laid out. We have readjusted the work area. I think I said in the last video we probably would do that, and we certainly have. And I really like the way it's laid out now. So we're going to give you a little quick rundown of how we got everything set up, and just so you can check it out. All right, so it's a little bright in here this morning. The shop faces east to west, and so we've got the morning sunlight coming through, and so it's pretty bright in here, which is, it kind of gives it a really neat look. But this is the showroom. We've gotten all the painting done, the flooring in. We've set up a little seating area there. I'm not sure exactly. The showroom will always kind of be evolving and changing depending on the season and what we're wanting to showcase and stuff like that. As of right now, I've just got this little bench here. This was actually a sign. It says Saddle Shop on it. It was a door that came out of an old building. I've got a friend down in South Texas that has a ghost town on his ranch. There's actually old buildings and stuff left from the 1800s that are there off in the brush, and he actually got that door for me just to make a saddle shop sign early on in my career. And so we set it up here as just kind of like a little table. I've always kept it and used it for different things. It'll probably hang in the shop at some point. But for right now, we've just got some items on display for anybody that may come by or come in and want to look at some stuff. You'll recognize some of these projects, like our little cast iron pot holders, a couple of the bifold wallets, pancake scabbard. This was the new style of shave kit, a few belts for display. And I've just got a little bit of raw material down here just for kind of decoration, really. And then we've got over here our counter and cap rack there, a couple of my old antique saddles that are just on display, just mainly for decoration. And so that counter there has been to many shows with me. When we were going to a lot of events and shows and setting up our booth, that counter was what we used in our booth. And the top comes off and it actually folds up kind of like a book, makes it very easy to store and pack and move around. And then we've just got some leather. We'll eventually have a bunch more leather, mainly just for the kind of a decorative deal, but also just kind of display some of the leather if somebody wants to look at, chap leather or something like that for a project. We've got some on the sales floor already, kind of handy. This is a picture that my good friend Andrew Jones and Terry Henson, they made this for me as a gift, and I love this piece. Andrew does a lot of woodwork and does a lot of furniture and frames and stuff, and he did that part, and then Terry tooled the leather, and I'm just honored to have it hanging in the shop. We've also got a bunch of saddles on display these are some of our used saddles that we've taken in on trade. We're either building them another saddle or trying to help our customers sell a saddle that we've built them in the past. And that'll be the only saddles we really carry in our store, will be some of ours used that have come back in on trade or for sale. We got another one over here, and we've got a little display shelf there, and then a couple pair of leggings and stuff. Not real quite sure yet. We don't have a whole lot of product built, so we're in the process of building that. But eventually on this wall here, at some point we'll have bridle racks and belt racks and stuff with inventory hanging, just some stuff that people want to buy. And then this is a saddle that we just finished. We've got it on the sales floor this morning, and then it will actually be taken to Bryan, Texas today to drop off to the customer. And we've got a few deer on display that my wife has harvested over the years, and these were all Brazos County bucks, which are pretty good bucks for that county. Really nice deer for that area. We don't have really high enough ceilings in our current home, so we went ahead and just put them here in the shop for display. We figured that was a good spot to kind of show them off. And up on top above the door, we've just got a few little keepsakes. I've got an old tree that a customer gave me that's from the 1800s. The gullet width on that tree is, I think, 5 3/4. So that tells me pretty well that it's pre-1900 as far as that way that tree is made so steeply like that. And then just some other pieces. I've got one of my dad's very first rawhide bullwhips up there as well. I've got some other of his pieces that'll be displayed in the shop as well. So that'll be pretty neat. And just an old saddle that I've always liked that I bought displayed there. So as we come into here, this is just the hallway going, and that's our office. that if we do a podcast, that's where the podcast studio will be, I'm assuming. I haven't looked into all the hardware that we need for something like that, but we've got a neat little office area there where we can kind of put that. And of course, bathroom. And then this is the workshop. So I don't know how much of it I've shown so far, but when we first did it, I had a bench. My bench was up against this wall over here, and then we had another bench, and it was like kind of like cubicles or little workstations. I ended up putting everything up against the far wall and then bringing my cut table. It was back against that back wall. We brought it forward, and that way it's closer to my workbench. When I was in Wheelock in that little shop, that cut bench was right by my bench, and I got really used to having it that close. And so now I think it works a lot better when it's right in the middle of the room. We've got our punch bench set up here. So if you've seen our work surface video, then you know kind of what all these benches are for and why they're set up that way. But we put that one on the end of this table. It's the same width as this table. And then on this end, I've got just a little 2-foot table that has our 3-in-1. Our my little boy's hat is on it, but that's our edger. It'll edge all 4 sides of like strap goods and stuff like that. And then of course we've got our Hansen splitter right there, our Hansen lace cutter right there. And so, you know, that's kind of that allows you to get anywhere around this workbench. It's large. It's, you know, it's an 8-foot bench with a 2-foot on this side and a 3-foot on the other end. So you've got a long area there. You need a big space to put something like that, but it's really nice when you're either cutting out saddle parts or working on leggings or whatever we're working on. Right now, I've got a ton of clutter up there. We've got a bunch of little projects we've been trying to finish up, but it works really well. I'm really happy with it right there. And it's really close to my workbench. So basically what we did was I've got my glue table in between these 2 benches here. And so that was Freddie's bench, and now it's kind of our repair bench, which it was there too, but now it's a little easier to work with because I can have repair saddles over here if there's repair I need to do. I don't have to carry them to my area. I can just step over here, do what I need to do, and then leave my custom stuff over there. I don't have to really move anything around. I did put the Cobra Class 4 over by my bench. Again, in Wheelock, it was really close to my bench, and I got used to it that way. That was the first time that any of my sewing machines have been that close to my work area. And so I kind of got used to it. So we put it back over here, and it just makes it really, really nice when I'm working on a project or working on something. I just step over to the machine and sew on it. I have other machines, but that machine is my main machine, and so that's the one I sew on 90% of the time, so it might as well be right by my bench. My tooling bench is over here in the corner. We do need to add a light here because it's a little bit dark, but so far it's okay. I'm gonna add probably a top, like a top piece on there where I can put a light up underneath, a little shop light, and some bookshelves or something up on top where I can get some of that stuff off the surface of the tooling bench and on that shelf. If you've got a lot of stuff like I do currently on my bench, if you go to tool something big like a fender or a saddle seat or a rope bag, it can really cause some issues because you start knocking stuff off your bench, and that's not really cool, especially for stamping tools to be hitting the floor. But if you've got a shelf above that, that makes it really nice where you can kind of get that stuff up and off the work surface so that you can work a little bit easier. You'll notice my workbench looks exactly the same as it did whenever we were in Wheelock, and it's looked exactly that way in Highway 21 as well, where our original shop was. The workbench really doesn't change a lot, it just moves. And then, so over here in the corner, I've got past the, we've got a repair area here where things are dirty and filthy, and you're dealing with old stuff. And then right here we've got our oil stuff, so we can come right there to here, oil everything, and go back. If I'm oiling a saddle, a custom saddle, I'll bring it over here and put it on this rack, and I just like that rack because it spins. Other than that, it's pretty useless. It was a neat project to build, but it's on a barber chair base, but it doesn't really work real well. That hydraulic system in there is kind of messed up, but it's a great bench or stand to oil on because you can spin the saddle around, you don't have to walk around it, and so I really like it for that. Over here we've got 3 other machines. The one in the back corner, that's one I'm working on. It needs a couple little parts and stuff. It still sews. I've just got to kind of tighten it up a little bit. Got our little Singer machine right there, and then our old Ferdco here, which is currently just set up for stirrups, and that's about all I sew on it right now. Outside of nasty repair work, we'll put that in there versus sewing with it on the Cobra. This is, for right now, it's working out okay. I've sewn a couple belts on that little Singer where it's at, and it seems to work well. That's the trickiest part with sewing machines because they usually need to be perpendicular to a wall, not pushed up against a wall, because you're feeding material through the face of the machine. It's just the way they work a lot better if they're perpendicular to a wall, which in turn usually takes up a lot of space. So we were able to set up our shelving over here in a way that I think works pretty good. Dealing with scrap leather and storage is always an issue. What I did was I just set up these shelves I got at Lowe's. I don't know if they're still carrying them, but they were for a while, and they were like 90 bucks for one of these. And I don't know the exact dimensions, but you can see how rolled leather on two of them will come all the way across. They're pretty good. They're powder coated. They were like 90 bucks. They go together super easy. So I bought 3 or 4 of those things, and they make it really easy to set up a little storage station. You can also make a bench out of them. Our finishing table at the other shop was actually made out of one of these, just not as tall, obviously. But then I've got, you know, our belt leather, belt weight stuff, belt scraps. All my scrap leather, you can put it in boxes like we have over here. That is the worst possible way to do it, in my opinion, but we all do it because we don't, what else are you gonna do with it? But if that leather stays in that box, you'll never dig down in that box deep enough to get a decent piece of leather. You'll just pull off the top, and then eventually that box is going to break down and you've got to transfer that to another box, and it's just a whole cycle. And so I prefer scrap leather on something flat like this where you can get to it, or especially necks. If you're a saddle maker or dealing with a lot of heavy skirting leather, necks are the worst because they will tear up a box because they're so hard and thick and heavy. If you put them in a box, eventually they're going to tear that cardboard box up. So I allocated this bottom shelf here for nothing but skirting necks, because I do use those, like the neck and front shoulder part. I use those for ground seats or plugs and skirts, whatever. I don't want to throw them away, so I'll set them there flat. They're out of the way, and I can flip through them and find the one that I need versus having to dig down through a box. And then here we just got, you know, harness leather, Latigo on one shelf, skirting pieces on another shelf. I could definitely put full sides up there, but most of my full sides, if I roll one out, I'm cutting it up pretty much every time. So I don't store a lot of those right now. I've got 2 rolls still in paper in that back corner, and so that's probably where they'll stay. The very top of the shelf, I've just got all our trees stored up there. They're up and out of the way off the floor, and then our extra sheepskin and stuff like that. I like to keep the sheepskin up where I can see it. It comes in a box. We order 6 at a time. But if it's in a box, sometimes I'll forget how many I have. This way it's visual when I'm in the shop, because between repair and custom saddles, it's real easy to go to that box and open it up and find out you need 2 and you only have 1. So this way I can, throughout the day, if I ever curious, and just glance over here and I know I've got 5 or 6 or whatever I've got. This bench over here along the wall was actually here when we moved here, and I was gonna tear it out, but it's actually really stout, and so we decided to keep it. Right now it's just a menagerie of stuff, and so we kind of just gonna organize it and go through it eventually. But right now it's just a finishing table, and so that's where I'll do all my paint work. I do all my antiquing, and I've got a bunch of bins with all our little fittings and stuff in there as well. So that's a really good bench. I think it's gonna work out well. And here we've got our saddle rack just to hold saddles that are finished. Well, I hope that gave you some ideas. Every shop's different when you go to set one up. It depends on the space. Whatever your space looks like and however it's laid out is going to determine where your benches go, where your machines go, where your storage is, all that kind of stuff. I've been in a 2,800 square foot shop, into a 1,000 square foot shop, and now we're in another 2,600 square foot shop. I know it can be difficult depending on the size and space that you have. Most of us don't have enough space. Some of us have way too much. Both of them have their own problems to deal with when you're setting up stuff. So hopefully you got something from this, and it can kind of give you some ideas, maybe setting up your shop or benches, or maybe how you have things set up. I would say don't be scared to move stuff around. If we'll leave it like this for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then if we think something needs to be moved, we'll move it. I'm big on where the bench is and why it's there for workflow, so that as I'm working, I'm not walking back and forth. That's why we rearranged it already one time, because I found I was walking all the way to the back, all the way back here, all the way to the back, all the way back here. If I do that 3 or 4 times a day, that's cutting a lot of time out of my work schedule. And so we want to limit that as much as possible, and that way everything's within hand's reach, or within at least a few steps. So anyway, that's our shop. Come by and visit if you're ever in the area. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share our videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because we got a lot more videos coming out. If you're looking for more information on leathercraft or tutorials or anything like that, there's plenty of videos on our channel. Where also you can go to dgsaddlery.com and visit us there. There's blog articles, videos from our channel are there as well. Lots of patterns and different things there too. And so that's a great way to stay connected to us. So we appreciate you. We'll see you in the next video.